There's a crisis happening right now, and it's not making headlines. It's silent, personal, and devastatingly common. Millions of people wake up every day knowing exactly what they want: the promotion, the relationship, the creative project, the life change, and go to bed having done absolutely nothing about it. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack talent, but because they're terrified of a single, simple action that takes less than 5 seconds: asking for it. According to research from Columbia University psychologist Vanessa Bonds, people systematically underestimate others' willingness to help by approximately 50%. We're not just bad at asking, we're catastrophically wrong about what happens when we do. Half of what you could have, you don't have. Not because it isn't available, not because you don't deserve it, but because you never opened your mouth. The opportunity was there. The person who could say yes was standing right in front of you, and you stayed silent. This isn't a lecture about manifesting destiny through cosmic vibrations. This is about the mechanical, almost boring reality that most of what separates people who achieve their goals from people who don't comes down to a communication act so basic we teach it to toddlers: using your words to express what you want. Yet somewhere between childhood and adulthood, we unlearn this fundamental skill. We replace clarity with hints. We substitute directness with hoping someone notices. We trade asking with waiting, as if our goals might wander over and introduce themselves if we're patient enough. The psychology behind our failure to ask is a symphony of fears, all playing the same discordant note. There's the fear of rejection, that sharp sting of hearing no that somehow feels like a referendum on our worth, rather than a simple response to a simple question. There's the fear of appearing needy, of violating some unwritten social contract that says competent people should figure everything out alone. And perhaps most insidious, there's the fear that we don't deserve what we're asking for. That voice whispering we should be grateful for what we have and stop reaching for more. But here's what those fears don't tell you. Asking isn't just a mechanism for getting things. It's a declaration of intent that fundamentally changes how your brain processes possibility. When you articulate a specific desire, writing it down, speaking it aloud, formally requesting it, you activate your mind's filtering system. Suddenly, you notice opportunities related to your stated goal that you previously filtered out as irrelevant background noise. Asking transforms your perception from passive observation to active hunting. You're not hoping anymore. You're scanning, searching, primed to act. Consider the mechanics. You want a mentor in your industry. You could spend months strategically positioning yourself at events, carefully crafting social media posts, hoping the right person eventually notices you're brilliant and offers guidance. Or you could send an email that says, "I admire your work in this field. Would you be willing to spend 20 minutes on a call discussing how you navigated your early career?" One approach treats success like a slot machine. Maybe if you pull the lever enough times, you'll hit the jackpot. The other treats it like a vending machine. You know exactly which button to push, and you push it. Let's be brutally honest about what asking actually requires, because this is where courage becomes non-negotiable. Asking means abandoning plausible deniability. As long as you don't ask for the raise, you can tell yourself you probably would have gotten it anyway, that timing just wasn't right, that next quarter will be better. The moment you ask and hear no, that comfortable ambiguity evaporates. You have to confront the reality of where you stand. And for many people, that confrontation feels more threatening than never knowing. This is the paradox. We're more afraid of definitive information than we are of indefinite stagnation. We treat uncertainty like a security blanket, wrapped tight around our unrealized potential. We mistake this paralysis for protection, as if not asking prevents rejection. But you can't be rejected if you never ask, true. You also can't be accepted. You've achieved perfect safety by eliminating all possibility of success. You've locked yourself in a cell where the only guard is you. Research on end-of-life regrets consistently shows that people don't regret the things they tried and failed at. They regret the chances they never took, the questions they never asked, the doors they never knocked on. The regret isn't, I asked and was told no. The regret is, I never asked, so I'll never know. That's the real loss, not the outcome, but the eternal wondering what might have been if you just found the courage to speak up. So what does courageous asking actually look like? It's not dramatic or cinematic. It's specific, clear, and almost uncomfortably direct. I'd like to be considered for the senior position opening next quarter. What would I need to demonstrate to be a strong candidate? Not hints, not dancing around it, not waiting for someone to intuit your ambitions from your excellent work. Asking means removing every possible escape route for ambiguity. It means saying exactly what you want in language so clear that the other person's only job is to respond yes, no, or not right now. The clarity itself provides relief. We think asking creates stress, but uncertainty creates far more. When you know where you stand, even if the answer isn't what you hoped, you can make decisions. You can adjust. You can move forward with actual information instead of drowning in speculation. Asking is the relief valve, not the pressure source. Now let's address what happens when you ask and the answer is no, because it will be sometimes. Rejection isn't a possibility when you start asking for what you want. It's a guarantee. Some percentage of your requests will be denied, doors will close, people will say they can't help or aren't interested. And if that possibility is enough to keep you silent, you've already decided that protecting your ego is more important than achieving your goals. But here's what actually happens when you get rejected. Nothing catastrophic. You don't explode into flames, the earth continues rotating, and you gain something invaluable that people who never ask will never have. Information. You know where you stand. You know what the barrier was. And most critically, you can ask the follow-up. What would need to change for the answer to be yes in the future? Now you've transformed rejection from an ending into a roadmap. You're not shut out, you're informed. The courage to pursue your goals isn't about eliminating fear. It's about recognizing that asking, despite the fear, despite the possibility of rejection, despite the vulnerability of stating clearly what you want, is still the most reliable path to getting it. You're not brave because you're unafraid. You're brave because you ask anyway, knowing it might not work out, accepting that some people will say no, understanding that you might look foolish or desperate or too ambitious. Here's what Bonds' research reveals that should change everything. While we agonize over imposing on someone with a request, the person being asked rarely experiences it as burdensome. They either help or they don't, and then they move on with their day. We're constructing an entire prison of anxiety around a transaction that the other person will likely forget by tomorrow. The torture is self-inflicted. This is where transformation happens, where courage shifts from abstract concept to practical tool. You start treating your goals not as wishes or hopes or someday maybes, but as negotiations you're actively conducting with reality. You want to write a book? Email agents, ask published authors for advice, inquire about writing groups. You want to pivot careers? Reach out to people in that field, ask for informational interviews, request honest feedback on your transition plan. Stop waiting for permission from the universe and start asking specific people for specific things. The momentum this creates is self-reinforcing. Every time you ask and survive the experience, regardless of whether you get what you requested, you build evidence against the fear. You prove that asking isn't dangerous, that rejection isn't fatal, that clarity beats ambiguity every single time. Your courage doesn't grow from one grand heroic act. It accumulates from dozens of small asks, each one teaching you that you can handle the response, whatever it is. Here's the data on people who consistently ask for what they want. They advance faster, earn more, report higher satisfaction, and achieve goals at significantly higher rates than equally talented people who wait to be offered opportunities. Not because they're smarter or more deserving, but because they initiated conversations others were too hesitant to start. They asked for the meeting, the introduction, the opportunity, the second chance. They made their goals everyone else's problem to respond to, not their private hoping game that no one else knew about. So here's your challenge. Pick one thing you want, something specific, something concrete. And before this week ends, ask someone directly for help getting it. Not hinting, not hoping they'll offer. Ask with words that would make sense to a child. I want this. Can you help me get it? If not, who can? Maybe they say yes. Maybe they say no. Maybe they say not now, but here's what you'd need to change. All three answers move you forward. All three are better than the silence you've been living in. All three require the same amount of courage, enough to open your mouth and speak your goal into existence. The world doesn't reward the person with the best plan or the strongest work ethic or even the most talent. It rewards the person who asks. Not because asking is magic, but because asking is the bridge between wanting and having, between dreaming and doing, between where you are and where you're trying to go. The choice has always been yours. The only question is whether you'll finally ask it. If you liked that video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Blank Nexus is a brand new channel and there is more to come.